Hello, welcome to the latest Pods of War Warcast with me, John Buckley, Howard Fuller, and Spencer Jones, and the University of Wolverhampton, the War City Department. Today, we are going to grill Howard about a fantastic new project that he's been telling us endlessly about, and we're going to learn more about it today. It's about the HMS Captain Project. So, Howard, what is this ship? Why is it important? Why are we involved in this project? What's it all about?
Okay, hi. Thanks, John. All right. Well, I'm a reader in war studies at the University of Wolverhampton, and my last research monograph was focused around this ship, HMS Captain, which was an experimental capital ship of the mid-19th century. It was launched in 1869, and within a year, it capsized in a storm off Cape Finisterre, Spain, taking down nearly 500 men, the entire ship's crew, with only 18 guys managing to scramble into a lifeboat and row for their lives throughout the night in a storm before they reached the shore. The designer of the ship himself, Captain Cowper Phipps Coles, just like the designer of the Titanic, went down with his own ship. The son of the First Lord of the Admiralty also went down on the ship. Several other cabinet notables in Gladstone's government went down with the ship. It was a major catastrophe. It's actually the worst Royal Navy disaster of the entire 19th century. Other ships had gone down, but not like this one. And because it was also a government ship, funded by taxes and the rest, it was considered to be, at the time, the most powerful warship in the world in terms of armament, armor protection, strategic range, speed, all these sort of boxes it was ticking. That a ship like that would just sink was unheard of. So afterwards, when the book came out, I was doing some follow-up research and then discovered that no one had actually found the wreck of the captain. So rather than waiting for someone like Paul Allen, the co-founder of Microsoft, to decide that ship was interesting and perhaps go out and find that along with all the other shipwrecks that they had discovered in the Pacific, looking for World War II wrecks, let's say, in the past 10 years. I thought, why not us? Maybe we could do some research. We're actually in a sort of point of expertise on this, as it turns out. And if no one's found it, we might be able to organize an effort to go find the ship. It's usually about securing the funding to do this kind of thing, major marine studies. So that's what the project has been about this past year, is setting up a trust, getting the sort of mechanism in place to get the funding to go out and find the wreck of the captain. Again, it's a very famous shipwreck of the 19th century. It's never been found. And we're actually in a pretty good position to lead the effort. In fact, we're doing an initial survey off these waters in the next couple of weeks, where we're working with a Spanish documentary company who've also very keen on finding the wreck off their so-called Costa La Morte, their coast of death. Many shipwrecks in that area, but the captain is their most famous shipwreck. And again, it's sort of an unclaimed prize for them. This is sort of a point of pride. It's further out to sea that divers can't get to it. It's at least 500 meters down. Anything beyond 100 means you won't be able to really dive on it very well. Even the wreck of the Monitor was just within diving depths, but despite the underwater currents and the weather. So this is a very difficult thing, but it also means it hasn't been touched. So we're hoping to take a stab at it in a couple of weeks at some suspected wreck sites, and if it doesn't pan out, then it's probably further out to sea. We have an idea where it could be, but we're going to try these first couple of wreck sites first, and we're going to try to find the captain.
So you've outlined why this project's really important, Howard, but what is it you ultimately hope to achieve from it? How does this going to pan out if all goes according to plan?
Well, the idea is to at least discover the wreck and positively identify it. We're not talking about recovery of artifacts or anything like that. Again, I suspect it's about a mile down. It's going to probably be on uneven ocean terrain, seabed, and the idea is to at least identify the wreck. Part of the mystery behind HMS Captain is its relative obscurity. A lot of people don't quite remember that even the Titanic was sort of was an interest there, but it wasn't until people actually were looking for the Titanic and then discovered the Titanic that being able to put an image like of an artifact in people's minds was a wonderful way of making the history suddenly come alive again. And well, we all know how the Titanic story has taken off from there. I mean, movie and all the rest, countless books, countless documentaries trying to analyze the story, try to find new angles on it. But turning it into a wider expose of not just the Titanic and shipbuilding at the time, but also the entire period, sort of window into the Edwardian era. And the Captain is very much the same. By finding an artifact like this, you can capture people's imagination like never before. As compelling as my book is, as affordable as my book is,
Naturally.
There's nothing like actually seeing a shipwreck. And that certainly, I think we saw play out in March when they found Shackleton's Endurance, which again was, we always knew it was there. People were always sort of looking for it. This is sort of lost artifact. People have been hunting for it. So when it was finally found, it was international headline news, and I'm sure a lot of people were saying to themselves, I kind of knew about the ship, but now that I see it, I want to know more. It's there's something compelling about it. It's not just in the Captain's case, it's not just a mass gravesite, because most of the crew were trapped below deck when it rolled over and sank within minutes. It's also a sort of tangible icon of what life was like back then. The technology that they used, the fact that it was an iron hull with twin propellers, but also had a full rig of sail. These are Victorians as opposed to Edwardians. So it's sort of different time that tends to get looked over. I mean, right now, just one thing talking about the Endurance or the Titanic. There's been focus recently on the recently announced discovery of the wreck of the Gloucester, so even 17th century sort of window into the past. But the Captain is a quintessential Victorian ship. And there aren't a lot of Victorian shipwrecks out there that have been explored or identified, at least recently. A lot of the shipwreck discoveries tend to focus on things like the Second World War, say in the Pacific. Again, it's nice to have a billionaire going out there and looking endlessly and finding these wrecks. Oh, it's the bottom of the Marianas Trench. Well, that can still be done fine. But the Captain is still sort of waiting. And we think we're in a good position. We know where to look. And we've done our research, and we think if we find the Captain and we can put that kind of imagery out there, it will stimulate people's imagination.
So, do you think you're going to get those kind of pictures, iconic pictures of, you remember the Titanic with the bottles of champagne bobbing around on the bottom of the ocean and so on? You're going to get that kind of thing with this, do you think?
Possibly. The Titanic is about just over 2 miles down in the North Atlantic. We're talking about something that's about 20 miles off the coast of Spain, about a mile down, would be my guess. The seafloor is probably going to be a little bit rough. We don't know what condition the ship will be in. What we do know is that there's no sunlight, so there's very less marine critters down there eating away at the thing. It's 2,500 pounds per square inch of pressure, so again, there's less corrosion. So it may actually be quite remarkably intact, in the same way that the Endurance turned out to be quite remarkably intact. There were a lot of incredible details. Even though it's like about an extra 50, 60 years on the age of the Endurance, this is still a largely iron warship. So a lot of it may be intact. But again, we don't know. But what we're saying is it's worth a look. And someone eventually has to go look for these things, and why not us? So that's what we're doing.
Okay, sounds good. What's the timeline? How it is going to progress from here on in, and where could we keep up to speed with all of this?
Well, we have got a website that's associated with the project at the university. We'll put that on the bottom of the screen. If you basically Google find the Captain Wolverhampton or HMS Captain Wolverhampton, you'll come across the site, and we'll be updating the site as we go along with the latest developments of what we're doing, expeditions, public talks, and the like. We are doing an initial survey in the next few weeks. There's possibility we might find the captain right then and there. Somehow I doubt it, but there are a lot of local Galician fishermen have been snagging on a couple particular things that they swear is the captain. It must be the captain. So we're going to check those out first. They're kind of the easiest places to look, so we'll tick that box first by process of elimination. And even if it's not the captain, if it's some other wreck, well, then we found some other wreck whose story needs to be told. That's another researcher's project. And at any rate, it narrows our search window for the next season, because you can only search in these kinds of waters anytime between, say, May and July, May and August at the outside, before it just becomes, you've lost your season. So there is a sort of narrow window to look at this kind of thing. And it is probably going to be about a mile down. So again, you need a big ship, big crew, best equipment. So the idea is that whatever doesn't happen as a result of this initial survey, we continue fundraising, patronage, support, get some contributors. The more people who are involved in this, the better. This is a public trust. It's the university is hosting it as a public charity exempt by status. So the more people that are involved in finding this iconic national Victorian ship, the better our chances of fulfilling our goal here. And the idea would be to go out next summer and do a series of scans that culminate in an ROV sweep that finds the captain. Hopefully.
Well,
we just keep trying. Keep trying again and again.
Yeah, if at first you don't succeed, give up. But I mean, you keep on going. It sounds fascinating. It's just it's kind of a different angle to the kind of work that we usually do, isn't it? So getting involved in a field project of this nature sounds fascinating. So we look forward to keeping up to speed with it all. And when you find the ship, let us know, and we'll make a big claim about it. We'll have another in-depth discussion. But for the moment, let's say goodbye, and we'll keep in touch about the whole project. Looking forward to it. So we'll see you all again soon. Thanks very much.